Hello to you all and good day. First and foremost, I would like to thank Dr. Myra Villanueva, the head of the SU Library team, for inviting me to present today. My task is to discuss physical wellness amidst this pandemic. I represent the Institute of Rehabilitative Sciences. I'm a doctor of physical therapy. As a PD, we are primarily described as movement specialists. So if any of you are interested in hearing more about physical therapy and movement science, please feel free to stop by our office at Angela King. All right. I would like to start with the definition of health and wellness. Health and wellness are usually used interchangeably. Are they one and the same? That is usually the question of most people. They should not be used, they are not one and the same. They should not be used interchangeably. So, according to the World Health Organization, health is defined as a state of complete physical, mental, and social being and not merely the absence of a disease. The wellness is the sense that one is living in a manner that permits the experience of consistent balance. That's the word there, the key word. Growth in the physical, spiritual, emotional, intellectual, social, and psychological dimension of human existence. So basically, it's like saying that one could have health issues, for example, someone with diabetes, but if they have balance in all the dimensions of health and wellness, they can be considered well. What are the different dimensions of wellness? So I would like to tackle this a little bit. So we'll have a little bit of definition on what we mean. Okay, you have emotional dimension, intellectual, psychological, social, spiritual, occupational, and physical. Now let's start with emotional. Okay, so this one is the person able to maintain a sense of humor. Do they recognize their feelings and appropriate they express them? Are they able to meet their emotional needs? Do they take responsibility for their behavior? What about intellectual? Intellectual is typically, okay, someone who can communicate effectively in speaking and writing. They see more than one side of the issue. They can keep abreast of global issues and they can exhibit good time management skills. What about a person who has the dimension of psychological? Do they experience positive outcomes to their events and circumstances in life? Are they optimistic? Do they have positive thoughts or feelings about themselves? Do they regard health and able to recover and gain better health? What about social? Are they able to develop positive relationship with their loved ones? Positive relationship with friends? Do they enjoy being with others? Do they effectively communicate with others who may be different? What about spiritual? Is a person able to examine personal values and beliefs, search for meaning that explain the purpose of life, have a clear understanding of what's right and wrong? Is a person able to appreciate the natural forces of the universe? Occupational. Okay, can a person have or do they feel a sense of accomplishment in their work? Can they balance work and other aspects of life? Can they find satisfaction in being creative and innovative? Can they see challenges at work? So not just like doing all the easy tasks. And lastly, physical. Does the person exercise regular? Do they have a well-balanced diet? Do they participate in safe and responsible behaviors? Do they make informed choices about their medical care? Do they maintain a positive and health promoting lifestyle? All right. We will be mostly focusing on physical wellness, okay, out of all those dimensions. I just mentioned them because I would like for everyone to have a little bit of a grasp, okay, on what they mean when they talk about the various dimensions of health and wellness. So, again, for today, our main focus is going to be the physical wellness. Now, according to the writer, what are the major, okay, undesirable consequences with prolonged homestay? He has identified five, okay? So the first one is physical inactivity, weight gain, behavioral addiction or disorders, insufficient sunlight exposure, and social isolation. So I think many of us have experienced these consequences. It has been almost 2 months now since the start of the quarantine period. So a lot of us are probably getting pretty much inactive, gaining a little bit of weight, and developing some behavior issues, okay, that we would like to hopefully get out of. And I think we can easily explain physical inactivity and weight gain. What about behavioral addiction disorders? Okay, so these are like examples are like your eating disorders. Okay, so are you eating all the time? Or exercise addiction? That's also an addiction. Are you just all day long? Are you just exercising? Okay, so of course we are promoting physical wellness, but sometimes if it's too much, it's also not very healthy. There's also what they call your internet addiction. What about your couch addiction? Meaning you don't get out of your couch. Okay, so you lay down all day long. So those are all behavioral addiction disorders. Another important thing that we need to consider is insufficient sunlight exposure. What do we get out of sunlight? Okay, we get vitamin D from the sun. And we know that vitamin D is essential for bone health and other benefits as well. It has the benefit of lowering your risk of pathology such as heart problems and autoimmune diseases. And most importantly, we know that vitamin D boosts your immune system and that will help the body fight infectious diseases. And another one is social isolation. So I'm not sure if Dr. Aravic discussed this on his webinar. These are like some issues that may arise and result to some mental health issues. Okay, so uh, by nature, human nature, we are social. So we do need to make sure that we are also communicating even through um the web, phone. Make sure that you get some communication with your friends. All right. Okay, next slide. What about physical inactivity? What is physical inactivity? Okay, so this is the most one of the most apparent consequence of complete lockdown. And with physical activity, we're not just talking about uh, recreational. Okay, so for people who work or even students, okay, you go to school, you wake up in the morning, you move around, you get dressed, you bathe, but during this lockdown you really don't have a particular time, so you wake up whenever you want to wake up or you can just stay laying down in bed. Okay, so this actually results to a lot of physical inactivity, and then of course like resulting to other consequences later on. So what are the common adverse effects of abrupt interruption of physical activity? So there are like 8 major things that they have identified. So you have the development of insulin resistance, muscle atrophy, bone loss, decreased aerobic capacity, increase in heart rate, BP, fatty liver disease, dyslipidemia, and orthostatic hypotension. Now, what is development of insulin resistance? Like to make it simple, this is just a condition wherein your cells they fail to respond to the hormone insulin. Now, insulin is very important because it allows glucose to enter the cells and it reduces your blood sugar levels. So, if the response to insulin is not working, this may result to increased blood sugar, therefore, like might result to diabetes. Okay. Now, what about muscle atrophy? So look at your muscles. If you don't move, it will start shrinking. Okay, so we will start losing like our muscle mass. What about bone loss? Okay, so there is this important law called Wolff's law. This is concerned with the thickness of the bone. Okay, so it indicates that the bone is dependent on the stresses placed upon it. Decreased aerobic capacity. So we might notice that we're getting winded, we're getting short of breath, just like going up and down stairs. Your heart rate and blood pressure might increase or sometimes even decrease. Okay, so due to inactivity, so it means it becomes abnormal. Your cardiovascular function becomes abnormal. The other one is fatty liver disease. This is one of the more kind of advanced stages of inactivity. So we're in there's an excess of fat buildup in your liver. Okay, typically there's like no symptom, but eventually it might result to other diseases or other metabolic syndromes. And then dyslipidemia, I think everyone's familiar with this. This is like having your high cholesterol. So sometimes a person might have a low level of high density lipoprotein uh, or like high levels of low density hyperprotein. Okay. And the last one is orthostatic hypotension. So what happens here is like there's pulling of the blood in the legs, decreasing blood flow to the brain. So when people get up from like a laying down position too fast, they might actually pass out. They will start feeling dizzy because the blood flow to the brain is decreased. So there is not enough like flow going upward. So this is like another common side effect, okay, of or adverse effect of physical inactivity. All right. Now, we do need to assess ourselves, okay, on our physical wellness. So, what are these things that we should be considering? Okay, we should ask ourselves, what about weight? Have you weighed yourself lately? Where do you fall under the obesity guidelines? You can easily calculate your body mass index using like various online tools. So all you need is your age and your weight. Okay. Now, what's a body mass index? Is measure body fat based on your height and your weight. So that applies to women. So if your body mass index is between 25 to 29.9, you're considered overweight, and anything over 30, you're considered obese. And then in obesity, there's also subcategories of like class 1 all the way to class 3. Okay, so it goes up. But in a nutshell, over 30, it's already considered obesity. What about nutrition? You eat like 5 servings of fruits and vegetables per day. Do you drink 6 to 8 ounces of glasses of water per day? What about exercise? Do you at least exercise 2 to 3 hours total per week? Smoking. I know this is something that is common among uh, the 20 and up age group. Okay, how many packs of cigarette do you smoke per day? Typically, like physicians, they measure them in pack years. Okay, pack years meaning like if you smoke like 1 pack of cigarette per year, you considered 1 pack year. Okay, so if you let's say smoke, like let's say you smoke 1 pack of cigarettes for 20 years, then it's considered 20 pack years. But if you smoke packs for 20 years, that is called 40 pack years. Okay, so the higher the number of pack years, the greater the chance of getting cancer, and it has been shown with various researches. Now, what about sleeping? Are you sure you're getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep? Are you able to sleep quickly, or are you fatigued in the morning even if you already slept? Are you asleep during the daytime? Do you wake up at night? All right. And then stress. Okay. So I think this one was already discussed on, again, the previous webinar. So how to handle stress? Can we handle it in a more positive manner, or does it give us as a result of negative situations leading to illnesses, poor coping mechanisms, and such? All right. So what do we do now? Okay. The first thing that we really need to look at is our baseline heart rate. Okay, so very, very important for us to know where we stand. Now, normal heart rate for an adult and most of us 18 and above would have 60 to 100 beats per minute. The newborns would be a lot higher because they would have a faster metabolic rate, and then it kind of normalizes as they reach like 7 years old. Okay, but for our current population, we're looking at 60 to 100 beats per minute. So let's go ahead and try to check our heart rate. How do we do that? Okay. The first one, the, there's 2 ways, okay, that are easy. There's many other ways, but these are the easiest ones, okay? So the first one is taking it using your carotid pulse, and this one is taking it using your radial pulse, okay? So it can be in sitting, laying down, or standing position. Okay, so you have to place firmly 2 to 3 fingers on the pulse. Do not press too hard. Okay, because you don't want to occlude your blood flow. Typically, you want to use your third finger and not the thumb. The thumb is less sensitive than the other fingers, and there's also an artery in the thumb, and sometimes it makes it difficult to distinguish if it's the thumb artery or your actual radial pulse. Okay. The first time, when you take it, you would want to take it for 1 full minute, okay? Because you are looking at the the regularity. Is it regular? Is it too fast? Too slow? Is it too faint? So if that's the case, make sure before you do your exercises, you consult a doctor first. Okay, so we want it steady and fairly even and strong. Okay. Now, after you get your 1 minute and you have this, you know that it's normal. You can succeeding pulses. You can take it for 15 seconds only, and you just multiply it by 4. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and try to palpate like our radial pulse. I want you guys to go from the thumb and then go all the way down, okay, to the wrist area, and then find a pulsation in there. Okay. And after that, you put up a timer, okay, on your phone, and then you count for a full minute. Count the number of beats, okay? Like it will be like boom, 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 that, okay? So that would count as 1, all right? Now, like if you cannot find it on the radial pulse, you can try the carotid pulse. Now, this is a lot easier to find. So just go into the angle of the jaw, okay, and then put your fingertip a little bit below it onto the neck area, and that one would be fairly strong. Now, the same thing with the radial pulse, you don't want to push too hard to occlude your blood vessel. This one, you be careful. This is an artery that gives blood flow to the brain. So we don't want to press this too hard as the person might pass out or you may pass out. Okay? All right. Now, what do you do with that heart rate? Okay, as you try to set up your exercise regimen, there is what they call Carbonen's formula. This is a good starting point on how much work do you need to do. Okay, so first you'll need your resting heart rate, which we've done previous slides, and then your age. Okay, very easy to calculate. You have after you have those two, the first thing you do, step one, you will subtract 220 minus age, and that would be your maximum heart rate. All right. Now, after that, step 2 will get your heart reserve, which is the maximum heart rate minus resting heart rate. And then the step 3, you would determine the high or low zones of exercise. Typically, you might want to start the low zone as 50% and then the high zone as 75%. But for people who are very in good conditioning, you can do zone 6% and then high zone as high as 80%. So basically, whatever is the heart rate reserve, multiply it by 0.75, and then you add the resting heart rate. That would be your high zone heart rate. Okay? And then you do the same thing for the low zone. Now, the next slide will show us an example. So for somebody who took their heart rate with the baseline rate of 60 and then age 20. So basically, minus age is 200 beats per minute. That would be the maximal heart rate of the person. And then now we would like to get the heart rate reserve, which would be 200, which is the maximum heart rate, minus 60, the age, the resting heart rate, we wanted 40 beats per minute. And then like to get the high and the low zones of range. So this one we use 50% as the low zone and then 75% as the high zone. 140, which is the heart rate reserve, times 0.75, and then you add the 60, which is the heart rate. The high zone would be 165. Okay, and then you do the same calculation for the low zone and 130 beats per minute. Okay, so like these are the safe zones for you as the person exercises. Okay, now as the reaches the high zone, we need to make sure that you guys are checking your heart rate regularly, because basically at this point your heart is working heart rate. So would want to try to make sure that we are monitoring that, or maybe lower the intensity of the exercise if it goes way beyond it. All right. Another thing that we would like to look at is what they call rate of exertion. So as you exercise, a good guide for the person. Number six, okay, it means that person is not really doing anything. Like it doesn't feel like doing anything, like reading a book, okay? And it goes all the way to 1920, which is very, very. It's just like after you finish a race and you can hardly breathe. Okay, it was created by Dr. Gunnar Borg, and it's 60 to 20. It's easy and simple to estimate like your heart rate. So basically, Dr. Borg said that you multiply 10 and it gives you an approximate heart rate for a particular activity. So like let's say for some part of your brisk walking and you gave it a score of 13 multiplied by 10, you would expect the heart rate is already go over 130 beats per minute. All right, now you have all of those and you are ready to exercise. All right. So with the recommendation of who? Okay. So recommend no less than 150 minutes per week moderate intensity exercise, less than 75 minutes of vigorous intensity aerobic exercise, or a combination of moderate and vigorous intensity. That is all very much dependent on the level of fitness of the higher the level of the fitness before the lockdown, the amount of exercise needs to be done by that person. Now, with that, very, very important to not forget. I know a lot of times we go straight to the exercise, but very, very important that we get 5 to 10 minutes of activity warm up, okay, before we start with exercise, and very important to also 5 to 10 minute cool down. Okay, so warm up is very important to prepare the person for the demands of the exercise. Okay, so it also increases your muscle temperature, improves your joint flexibility. Dynamic stretching now is more popular according to research that involves active movement of the joint. So, and you don't hold your uh, the, the stretch for a period of time. They have seen it result to better performance and strength. Okay, so they are to kind of away now from like what they call passive stretching, where you kind of hold it for 20 to 30 seconds, active warm-ups now. What are your goals? Okay, so do you want more aerobics? So it means you'll be doing longer exercise but lesser load, or do you want power exercise but higher load? So time that you would be using your carbon and make sure that you're monitoring your heart rate properly. And cool down. Okay, very, very important. It's just as important as extra, and it allows gradual return and allows the body to continue to have good blood flow. This also prevents the buildup of lactic acid. Okay, so this is what makes us sore. So if you have a soreness to be prevented, and like sometimes stopping too fast can cause lightheadedness because your heart rate pulls down on your legs. So you have to slowly go back up to brain and your heart. Okay, what are some examples of physical activity? So, moderate they have considered as examples of brisk walking, cleaning in your house. Okay, so wherein you can do some of your heavy chores, vacuuming, mopping, mowing your lawn, like cleaning your yard, bicycling, badminton. If you have a big yard, you can play badminton. Family members, dancing, general strengthening, core stabilization, tennis. I'm not sure if you have any tennis court division, doubles is moderate activity. Vigorous activity, jogging at 6 miles per hour, carrying heavy loads. So your parents like move things, like maybe do yard work, gardening. Okay, there's a basketball court in there. Soccer and they're not all inclusive. Like again, good gauge for activity level would back to the Carbonan formula to see how much your heart rate. All right. So sample of general exercise. Okay. We usually categorize our activities into activities and functional activities. So your general exercises comprise of stretching. Okay. So balance or stabilization activities. So we do your core stabilization, alternating push-ups, sit-ups. There's a lot of exercise applications that you can download now. Just be careful. The exercises are safe. It's all exercise with friends and family. There's a lot of live activities, and later on, I can show you also a video that our interns have created. They have some exercises that you can follow. And the other type of training would be functional training. It's very important. So it's not just like activities. It's to return to things that are functional, things on our daily activities or daily life. Okay. We do long distance running, which is very, very that promotes bearing. Okay. So remember the Wolf's Law. Need the weight bearing to allow promotion of like bone growth or bone strength. Okay. Also would like to do some stair actions. Most of the homes have stairs, so you can go do your stair actions going down, lifting, carrying, doing your household chores, sit to stand. Okay, so from the chair, from the floor, coming, and then you can also do some chair squats. Okay, so let's remember, like for example, like the astronauts. Okay, so when they come down to Earth, they are all osteoporotic, meaning their bones are soft. That could also happen if we don't put any weight bearing or any pressure on our bone. All right, thank you so much. I would like for you guys to please check out this link. And this area is a wonderful created by our physical therapy interns batch 2020. You can click either here or you can click on the link, or you have a QR reader. You can like scan this QR and it will take you directly to that YouTube video. This is something that you can again use with your family. It will show you how to again like go straight, take your how to count the carbon, how to do exercise. They have specific exercises like warm up, your exercise and cool down. And so it's going to take you to at least like half an hour of exercise. And as you improve advance yourself to much more vigorously if you can tolerate it. But I would, if you guys are kind of not sure what to do at the time, so please check out this video. It's a video created by our interns. And these are my references. I will be sharing some slides of these videos. So would like to get some more reading materials, please contact me. And I would be more than happy to provide you some of these articles as well. And as my presentation, thank you so much. So I hope you learned some this short presentation. So feel free to contact me should you have any. Thank you so much and have a blessed day.